Welcome to another episode of our SaaS Stories podcast. I am your host, Ash, and this is a show where I interview proven founders and industry experts who share their stories, strategies, and insights to help you build, launch, and grow your SaaS business. In this episode, I talked to Kate, the founder of Exportate, with a strong background as an in-house lawyer for a prominent international company. Kate's motivation to embark on this journey stems from her experience in supporting a social enterprise's expansion into international markets. Witnessing the transformative power of global trade on businesses, Kate developed a passion for helping companies maximize their potential in the global marketplace. However, she has recognized the challenges that come with it. During her time as a legal professional, Kate spent countless hours navigating complex export regulations and assessing the risks associated with entering new markets. While writing numerous reports on export compliance and optimization, she realized that these resources often failed to provide value to individuals without a legal background, such as supply chain coordinators and project managers. Determining to simplify the process, Kate founded Expedite. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, Kate, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Ash. Glad to be here.
Cheers. So, do you have a favorite quote, something that inspires or motivates you that you can share?
Yeah, sure. So it's a quote by the U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. It goes like this: "In every position I've been in, there have been naysayers who don't believe I can do the work, and I feel a special responsibility to prove them wrong." So that's kind of yes, that's what motivates me. Like I I used to be a lawyer for 5 years, so don't hold that against me. But in that role, I I had to prove people wrong several times. And I derived up. I am motivated by that actually. That's what primarily motivates me in my startup Expedite, which I have been doing for almost a year now. And at the beginning, there were people who didn't think I could do it, who didn't think I could run a SaaS business whilst being a lawyer. But yes, I kept proving them wrong on a daily basis, and that's what kind of motivates me.
Wow, that's interesting. So tell us about Expedite then. What does the product or service do? Who is it for? And what's the main problem you're helping solve?
Sure. Well, you probably heard of Brexit. So
Yes,
many of our listeners have. And since it happened, a lot of British companies have struggled with selling internationally, and they still want to sell internationally, but due to the confusion, some custom regulations and customs duties, it's so difficult. It's become so difficult, in fact, after Brexit. Then 1 in 5 British companies have stopped exporting, and exports are still down, which does not align with the UK government's vision called Made in the UK, sold to the world, which aims to get £1 trillion in the British economy by 2030. And that's how I founded Expedite. It was one of the primary problems that people were struggling with exports. And so I I was a lawyer for 5 years, as I said, for an international company, and we did a lot of international trade. Myself as a lawyer and our supply chain managers have struggled figuring out how export regulations work and how to calculate duties. But on top of that, the HMRC, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, is introducing brand new changes to the customs declaration process and making it completely different to what people are used to. And in fact, if previously people had to fill out a form, like an input form, to submit a customs declaration, now they have to put together an XML file, which, yes, yes, exactly, which not that many chain managers know how to do. You'd be surprised.
yeah, yeah.
So what Expedite is doing is providing a much easier way to submit customs declarations in accordance with this new system. So so that international trades can be compliant with what's happening in the international trade world.
Understood. Understood. So let's talk about where the story actually begins, where the idea for Export actually came from. But before that, I would like to know you personally more. I would like to know your story. What is your
Yep.
background? Where you brought up? What kind of family you had? You close to your family, etc. And then how your experience, your childhood experience, your teenager experience, as well as your lawyer experience, motivated you towards this particular idea.
Sure. So the Kate's origin story. Yes. I'm from Eastern Europe originally, and so that makes me quite different from many British founders. So that's I guess that kind of puts me at a disadvantage, is what some people would say. But I believe that actually it gives me a unique perspective on what's happening, because I grew up in a family of educators and have always instilled perfectionism into me, and that's what I've been trying to do for most of my life. And I've always believed that if you're doing something, you have to do it well, and have to benefit someone other than you. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it at all. And in terms of my childhood, well, as Eastern European country, post 90s, you can imagine. But when I was in secondary school in the 90s, girls were discouraged from doing IT work. And in fact, from fifth grade till 10th grade, I wasn't studying any computer science at all, because the girls were doing home economics, but the boys were doing IT. So you can imagine that was quite demotivating for me and for many other girls in my position. And I'm glad to see that's changing, but that has left an unimaginable imprint on thousands of women of my generation, uh, who might have run technology businesses that are changing the world, and the world would have been much better as a result. Whether that's true or not, that remains to be seen. We'll never know, but still, it is devastating that they missed out on so many opportunities as a result of such societal perceptions and these harmful stereotypes. I first moved to the UK when I was 15. I was alone. I didn't know anyone. So I missed a couple of years, skipped a couple of years at school. So I started uni quite young, and I graduated from Exeter a long time ago, 10 years ago, believe it or not. and then I moved back to the UK last year to start Expedite, because I saw the acute issues that were happening with Brexit and with traders not understanding what's happening. And right, for 5 years in the Dutch company, which sold very complex hardware and software. And I had this first-hand knowledge of how this should work, and what kind of things people are looking for when they're looking for answers to these acute questions. Yeah, that's how Expedite began.
Nice, nice. That's a really interesting story. I mean, I have interviewed a couple of people in the past who came from different parts of the world uh, as a second generation. There are very few people in England who I have interviewed who are first generation, and they are already into this business space, and they're doing really good. So kudos to that.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
so tell me more about it. What sort of challenges? So when you were working with the big multinational companies, and when you decided to move away from them, and then and then this journey of expertise started. What was the precise challenge, or I would say one of the precise challenge, which is like the biggest issue at the moment for people in UK, for businesses in UK to export to not just in Europe, but all around the world. And what are the processes they have to go through? And how does Expedite help them to minimize their effort or minimize or reduce the amount they have to spend on that and then potentially bring them benefits?
Sure. Well, I would say that the biggest challenges are faced by small and medium businesses who are most likely making amazing products that would do very well abroad. But due to the regulatory challenges and lack of clarity around export regulations, they don't do it. So they're missing out on these huge revenue opportunities they could have from international trade. So I would say that the the most the most significant pain point for them is not knowing where to begin and or what to do, what even to do, how to start exporting in the first place. Because after Brexit, it's gotten very different. And what they currently have to do is that they're still using the old HMRC system, but that's being retired, as I said in November, and it's going to be very different from then onwards. So they have to contend with that as well. So that would be an additional challenge for all UK companies that sell abroad. And what Expedite is doing is that we are providing a very comprehensive SaaS system that makes it very simple to do without the users having to put together any XML files or any other nonsense. And so the idea behind these innovations, the export innovations that HMRC is doing, is excellent, and it goes hand in hand with digital transformation that of the British government. But it's one thing to have an excellent idea, and quite another thing to have a core execution of the idea. So what I'm trying to do is bridge that gap with the British government towards the exporters that can benefit from the innovations that the government is creating, but I'm providing a better way to do so, if that makes sense.
Indeed, I can understand. And British government is usually blamed for this, that they come up with different ideas and they're very, very poor in implementing.
Yes, there's one thing to have a good initiative, but you have to execute it well for it to actually have any real added value. It's like with this new trade deal with called CPTPP that UK has joined, and as the trade minister has correctly pointed out, it's a good deal, but only as good as the people using it.
Oh, okay. Well, so what is it? CPTTT?
No,
Sorry.
it's called CPTPP, Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Aha, got it, got it. Would you like to unwrap a little bit more about it? Because I think our listeners would love to hear what this treaty is. Just very high level. We don't have to go deep into it. And then, how it can benefit more businesses.
Sure. So UK is the first European country to join this trade alliance. So that includes, I I think it includes Australia, New Zealand, some South American countries, and some Asian countries as well. So what they enjoy, the benefits they enjoy is free trade, like reduced trade tariffs as well. So when you sell something abroad, you don't have to pay a huge customs duty as a result, and you don't have to wait for goods to stay there at the customs for 3 months. Instead of it will be fast tracked as a result of that trade deal. So yes, that's the overall benefits I would say, and I think as far as I remember, the UK's trade deal with New Zealand also allows UK traders to participate in public procurement of New Zealand on equal footing with New Zealand KB businesses as well. That's one of trade deals I've ever seen actually between UK and New Zealand, because in fact New Zealand loves British cars, according to trade figures. So they buy a lot of Jaguars. So one of the focuses of the new trade deal with New Zealand is sustainability. So if you're a startup in UK that produces climate change solutions, you can export them to New Zealand at a reduced reduced trade tariff, and you have any custom hurdles as a result of the trade deal. But the thing is, people don't know about trade deals and how they can help them. So Expedite's kind of bridging the gap as well. So we allow submission of the customs declarations in a seamless way, in a new way that HMRC wants. But we also provide guidance as to how trade deals can benefit traders in the UK and what measures they have to take into account depending on what they're exporting.
Got it, got it. But this is very good because I think that opens a lot of doors for our UK businesses to export to these countries where we already have these treaties in place, and our government is trying to help businesses to export things, which is already in demand in these countries, right?
Yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah, and UK goods, well, people love UK goods around the world. I mean, people love cheddar, frankly. I love cheddar cheese. And some people even like Marmite. I don't understand that, but some people do.
But people will put a lot of comments underneath this podcast if I say that I don't actually like the chocolate or what do you call it in the Starbucks, you go and you have a cup of for chocolate, hot chocolate. I really don't like it, but I'm gonna get a lot of stuff. There you go. Okay, great stuff. So when you had this epiphany, did you looked into the market? Were there other products? What was actually going on at that time, and what did you see from your research that encouraged you to go ahead with this idea?
Sure. Well, I started validating the market a couple of years ago, and at the time, the HMRC's initiative was still quite new, so there were very few competitors. And most of these competitors, they are Belgian companies or Dutch companies, so they focus on European single markets customs issues. And they have UK offices, but UK customs is not the main focus of business. Whereas it has huge scope of like, UK regulations and Brexit and HMRC changes, you really need your own division to manage all this compliance. So it is growing now. So I have more competitors now, but I feel like I'm more in a more equal playing field with them than I was a couple of years ago when I was just starting out.
Yeah, yeah. And and but so tell me more thing about when when you started, even if you had less competitors now, as after a couple of years when you're more grown up, you have better or more competitor. Um, do you have a particular USPs, for with comparison to your competitors, which differentiates your products?
Sure. Well, first of all, if a couple of USPs actually. Firstly, I'm a lawyer, so I know this industry firsthand because I was an international lawyer. And a lot of these companies, they were created by developers who are excellent on the technical side, but they don't have the unique expertise required to be to understand how customs regulation works. And secondly, well, we are very young, but we have ambition to become a one-stop shop for whatever UK businesses need in terms of international trade, whether it's export compliance, whether it's company regulation, or calculate customs duties related to what they're exporting. Yes, that's I would say that's our USPs, or I guess me
Yeah,
as like and
definitely. Definitely.
and
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because when you have the expertise which is not available easily in market, that becomes the USP of your unique selling proposition. Right. So
yes,
that's to the point. Okay. So can you give us a sense of the size of the business? Where are you in terms of number of customers, or the team size or something?
sure. I incorporated about a year ago. So at the moment, it is just me. So I'm a sole founder. I'm bootstrapping everything, and I'm actually a sole founder who had to learn IT, not coming from an IT background. So I'm very grateful to found creators of no-code solutions that can help a lot of founders like me to validate their MVP. So the tool I used is called Bubble. It's excellent for building web apps. Uh, well, it's a no-code tool, and I think that it can help a lot of founders, especially female founders who might not come from tech but want to productize their brain, productize their expertise. And no-code solutions like Bubble or Glide, if you're in mobile app space, they can do it really well. So what I did in the first few months is that I built the MVP in Bubble, and I also tested it against HMRC software, and I got the approval from HMRC just before Christmas last year to be an authorized provider of the new software. So we are listed on a directory of authorized providers if anyone wants to see. So and at the moment, I'm offering the SaaS, software as a service, and I'm also offering consultancy services for people who have never done exports before or imports, even who are new to international trade and want some help filling out customs declarations. I can talk through about a use case I had recently. If you fancy that?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, what I want to do is I want to unwrap on this no-code tool which you've been using to develop your MVP, because a lot of our listeners are founders, and they
Yeah.
have challenges where they want to create this products, or portals which which they had in their brains as an idea for a very very long time, but it's very very difficult or expensive to hire
Yes.
programmers or developers to create this kind of tools or platforms.
Yes.
But this particularly which we to understand more, how did you do that with the help of Bubble? And
Yes.
what is how long was the learning curve, and what were the uh, I would say better features or options you had in Bubble, which lets you choose it as a local solution compared to hiring a developer or hiring somebody who can do it?
Sure. Well, I first learned about Bubble just before COVID started. I've been playing around with it for a while, creating small websites for myself or for fun. And the best thing about it is you don't have to know any code to operate it. So it does have plugins for incorporating JavaScript into it if you want. But if even if you've never done any code, you can use it. And so the learning curve for me was a bit steep because I had to figure out how HMRC software works before I would bridge it with Bubble. So that was the tricky part. But without that, I didn't have to do that. Learning Bubble, and would have taken me about 3 months to figure out. Especially if you're really driven, if you really want to do it, you can easily learn it in 2 or 3 months if you're a founder. And I guess the best aspect of it is, well, the interface is really easy to use. It's just drag and drop. If anyone's ever used Trello, it's very similar to that. So you can add buttons, you can add workflows, and you can add input forms. And so a lot of powerful web applications have been built on Bubble. Actually, if even not just the MVPs, but a lot of MVPs as well. So I would say it also allows integrations with APIs. So if you have some external application you want to integrate, you can do it very easily, thanks to several plugins of Bubble. So yes, if you're not a non-technical founder, but you have an entrepreneurial mindset and you have this awesome idea, but you don't know how to put your brain into the product, Bubble is the answer. I don't know how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how much so before you started with Bubble, have you spoken with anybody? Did you had any codes to develop your software, and then have you compared it? Like how much it cost to do it on Bubble and how much it was costing without it?
Sure. Well, Bubble actually charges about $30 per month, $30 per month. But if you're using some APIs, you have to pay for the API fee, of course. That's not associated with Bubble. HMRC's APIs are free to use, but they take a while to get into. So it might not have cost a lot in terms of money, but it costs a lot in terms of time because of what I said. It's the HMRC was the trickiest bit, to be honest. So what was the rest of your question?
I was just wondering, did you actually go into the market and got some quotations from any developers or agencies to do your product?
Yes, they were all with 10K.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so it was easier for me to create the MVP for $30.
And was it really expensive?
No. I mean, I had an agency which specialized in Bubble apps because I need some help on the deep end integrations with HMRC, and it cost less than £1,000 overall. And I'm still paying a Bubble's monthly fee to host the application. They host on AWS. But that's the extent of software costs, not including APIs.
Okay, great stuff. Great stuff. So
Yes.
let's move on to um to the skills which you bring into the business. So as a founder, what are the principles or values you are adamant about upholding in your company, and how do they shape the culture and direction of the company? Remember, even though you are a single founder right now, you will be hiring people because your business is growing, right? And a founder has to be very, very upholding in terms of what value or culture you want to grow your company. So have you had a thought about this, or you already have them?
Yes. Yes, our values are specified. Uh, Openness is one of the main ones. We are always open to new information and new ideas, whether it's from our internal stakeholders or our customers. And certainly, communication. I like to think that when you export something, you're carrying your message into the world, and we want to make sure it gets there without any hassle. And to get there, we listen to what you need and what your pain points are, what you're struggling with, and on the basis of that information, we figure out how we can help our clients. And also innovation, of course. But in our case, believe that innovation goes very closely with simplicity. So it's two of our values: innovation and simplicity, because we want to make trade compliance is simple and as simple as possible, so people don't have to spend thousands of hours reading guides and legislations. We want to use to make that happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed, indeed. And you, when we were talking about how you're helping businesses, you mentioned about the use case. Would you be able to share that use case with us, with our listeners, and explain how Expedite actually helped them, and then got the benefit out of
Yes, of course. So it was a private client, a consultancy client. So and they had a relative who passed away in the United States, and they had a will where my client was bequeathed several items. But since my client was living in the UK, they were unsure on how to bring these items back to the UK from the US in terms of customs clearance. So I don't know if you know, but with inherited goods, you don't have to pay any duties, but you do have to fill out special forms if you bring them into your UK. So I helped them with customs clearance forms and explained what they needed to do in terms of documentation formalities. Uh, Here's where the challenge came in. Like, they were using a big delivery company to bring the goods in, but the delivery company was not aware that a special customs procedure was required for inherited goods, which was quite unusual. And we have spent a couple of weeks convincing them this was not an issue of transfer of residence, which is different customs procedure. This was an issue of inherited goods. So the delivery company kept getting those two confused. But eventually, it got sorted. So it showed me quite just how acute the problems are with international trade and customs regulations, even with big company expertise.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Several use cases from someone I know and my friends where they sent something with large delivery operators, and in many cases, the operator didn't even know that the customs regulation is required when I said something right, which is insane for me. But
Yeah, and I've also heard that if you're importing food or baby products,
yes,
it's different than importing clothing and
of course.
importing electronics and importing other things. So, do you have like sort of like a spreadsheet or like a web page where people can go and see? For example, let's say if one of our listeners is from textile. So you can go on your website and say, how much import duty I have to pay when I import, let's say, 100 tons of textile. If I import um, baby goods, if I import food items, and,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
maybe a drop down there where you select origin country and country where I want to import it, which is UK, I guess, and then the type of import I want to do. This would
Yes,
be really helpful.
yes, exactly. We do have that feature, and it's actually available as a 5-day free trial for our subscribers. So what the user does is that they can look up the customs code, and then they type this code in our calculator. They type the price of the item, the insurance, the delivery cost, origin country, destination country, and click calculate. And that gives them, the full duty they have to pay and the full amount and the applicable VAT. And the VAT is a big pain point for especially when you're selling to the EU, because different EU countries have different VAT rates. And after Brexit, you do actually have to pay VAT, because before it was part of the customs union, but not anymore. So you have to pay taxes and duties. And if you are selling something, if you want to take advantage of one of the trade deals, for example, you have to provide a lot of documents for rules of origin. And the term origin is different from origin country and origin of manufacturer. So if just because you're sending something from the UK, it does mean it was manufactured in the UK. So you have to prove, if in order to take advantage of preferential rates and not go bankrupt with the customs duties, you have to show that a percentage of your item was manufactured in the UK. So yes, our website certainly provides that, our SaaS rather. So we have a calculator, and we also have a lookup tool for customs for export measures from the UK. If you look up a customs code, it'll give you a list of export measures applicable. Like, for example, if you're selling like a biologically active supplement, it'll give you an instance in an explanation as to whether you need a certificate of confirming that it's organic, or whether you need to pay a special duty if you have certain ingredients as part of it. So yes, we definitely have that in place.
Indeed, perfect. And I would love to have that link if you could send me, and I'll put that as in the description of the podcast. So we talked about import exports. Is there something you and correct me if I didn't understood it? You also help people who would like to import things from outside, right?
I consult on it, but I don't have a SaaS set up yet because that would be a lot more complex than setting up an export SaaS because HMRC requirements are very different. So yes, it's definitely in the pipeline to set up a SaaS product for that, but not until the last quarter of 2023 at least. But I can consult on the subject, yes.
Understood. Understood. Because that might open a big customer base for you because then there's more of imports going on in you. Great
Yes.
stuff. So tell us more about who is your ICP? Who is your ideal customer persona profile whom you're targeting? And what are the measures you're taking right now to target them? At which
Yeah, sure.
different platforms or live events or places you hang around to get
Yes. Yes. So we have two primary target groups. First one is British exporters, both new and experienced, who are a bit confused by what's happening with the customs regulations, but are keen to make the most of international trade. And the second one is freight forwarders. Those are operators who help such exporters with customs formalities, but they may not necessarily have the budget for an in-house system, software systems for customs declarations. So that's where I come in. And in terms of what I'm doing, I have a LinkedIn newsletter on the export news from last week. So it comes out every Monday. And I also have a YouTube channel where we announce we go over trade deals that the UK is joining, and so we also provide software tutorials for Expedite on a YouTube channel. And in terms of further plan offline marketing, we are going to be going global in November. So come see us if you're around London.
Oh, all right. Awesome. Are you doing any events?
Yes, going global is one of them. Yes.
Yeah, I would love to come into help me.
Yes, and we're also putting together an online course for the new about the new HMRC requirements, which are coming forth in autumn. So now is a good time to to do that because after November you'll have to use the HMRC software. But if all of people don't know how to do it, so we are putting together a course to educate them on that.
Indeed, and that would be really helpful for your potential customers.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So can you talk more about um, how you execute currently? If, let's say, for example, if Ash comes to you and say, okay, okay, I would like to export, I don't know, Rolls Royce, something like that. Yeah. I come to you and I say, I don't know anything about exports. I'm building 10 cars in a year. I want to export it to New Zealand. What is the procedure I have to follow with Expedite in order to get access to all these legalities and get it here to export my products?
Yeah, sure. So once you sign up for we charge per month, and you pay the subscription fee for the first month. If you don't have a customs code for your product, you type in the description of what you're selling, like the materials and what it is, into our portal, and it gives you a customs code based on HMRC information because we integrate directly with HMRC. And based on that customs code, you look up all the customs measures you have to take into account, and you also use our calculator for customs duties and taxes. If you are exported to New Zealand, I think the taxes and duties will be quite low because of the trade deal. And then you go on our customs declarations portal, you create a new declaration, you fill out a form, and you can save this form as a template for future exports of the sort. And then you click submit, and that form goes to HMRC directly. And then you can monitor its progress.
Awesome. And then once it goes to HMRC for the processing,
Yes.
once it is processed, your platform notifies me that as your application is being approved or declined, or they need more information, something like that?
Yes. So HMRC would process it and either request more documents, approve it, or decline for some reason.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And you make
And
then you can save the data because you will need for your future audits. Export audits can take up to 6 years. Yes.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So
And
the declaration of doing that 6 years, HMRC can come to you and ask for confirmation of export.
okay.
Yes.
And then in case, so I'm guessing in case of declining your request, do you help your customers to resubmit it or rectify problems?
Yes, absolutely. If you don't know what the issue is, I can go over it with you, like figure out what the problem is, whether you put in the wrong warehouse or the wrong route. Like if you put in like railway, but whether you're actually sending by boat, that would be an error, be one of the errors. And whether you forgot to upload a license, for example, for some reason a launcher would need a license, I don't know, but if you forgot to upload it, I'll definitely help you obtain it and upload it at the submit installation. Yes.
This is really interesting, Kate, because even though you say there's a lot of competitors, maybe it's because I have not gone into this business yet. That's why I don't know much about it. But it's really interesting what you're doing, because what you're doing is you try to make a business owner's life easier by encapsulating that trouble with that faults, and then making sure that the person focuses on the business, which
Yes.
actually brings more value.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
and no matter how boring it is, no matter how integrated it is with the HMRC, because most of the time when you talk about taxes or legalities, people
Yes.
get, oh, this is so boring, I don't want to do it. But it
Exactly.
it is the business which makes a lot of money for the businesses as well as individually.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
I think this is really good. Um, as we are heading towards the end, I would like
Yes.
to know more about you. And before we move towards understanding how what are the different trigger points which triggered you to move to the expedite, I would like to know more about you. What is your daily schedule? What is that
Mm,
keeps you energetic every day to work on the product? Because being a founder is not easy.
no,
You
it's
need
not.
to have the same energy every day, same passion every day.
Yes.
And a lot of people just start a business just you know because they want to make money, but ultimately they crash. 95% startups crash because the people who run them don't have, either they don't have passion for the business, or they are just there to make money. There are
Precisely.
few people like yourself who are into the businesses which they've been doing from a very long time and they're passionate about it. So what actually drives you every morning to work on Expedite?
Yes, absolutely. Well, when you're self-employed, which I technically am as a director, no 2 days are the same because you're a founder, you're doing everything. You're doing the legal stuff, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the accounting, you're the person who has to do everything. So Uh, but on the other hand, what drives me is that you see a lot on the news about international trade these days, and it's exciting, but it's also very nerve-wracking for many people who don't know much about it, especially for farmers. Because do you know that from this October onwards, farmers will struggle. A lot of farmers will struggle exporting to the EU because the EU wants a lot of veterinary certificates, which are costly to obtain for UK farmers. So that's quite a big worry for them, and I guess such worries, such anxieties, and such news, such somewhat exciting news about new trade deals are what keeps me going. Because this industry, it's relatively new, and especially in the UK, it's relatively new because of Brexit. But it's gonna it's gonna grow exponentially in the next few years. And the UK government's vision is to get a lot of trillion of pounds into the UK economy through exports. I truly believe it will happen. I want to be part of it. What makes it happen? Plus, the technological innovations are also driving me. I read a very interesting article the other day about how artificial intelligence (AI) can actually hinder a lot of innovations for exports, because AI it learns from the data sets that are faulty. Because if it learns about HMRC's data customs declarations from the past 3 or 5 years, well, there's a big chance that these declarations would be legally overturned as a result of HMRC audit. It has faulty data. The AI does for which it's learning. So a lot of some startups offering trade tech solutions, they're focusing on AI, and they're using data sets from the past 5 years from past declarations. They firmly agree with the point of view of the author. Like if someone's offering you such a solution, you shouldn't take it up because the data set will be faulty and you will get a penalty as a result. Because that's what happens with compliance startups, isn't it? People don't know they need it until they get a huge fine.
Exactly. And that's what you help them to get rid of huge fines.
I want to be people to be proactive, not reactive to compliance issues.
Indeed. Okay, great. So throughout your journey and experience, then there must have been valuable lessons learned. If you don't mind sharing, could you reflect on your experiences that tell us about one mistake or a setback that you encountered, along the way that you consider a regret or not even a regret, just lessons learned. And additionally, what advice would you give our listeners based on this particular experience?
I'll start backwards. So the advice is well, if no matter it will cost more and it will require more time than you expect. Than the business. I think that one thing I would have done differently now is that, well, because of my lawyer brain and my compliance oriented brain, I started with the legal formalities long before I had the product, like a proper MVP. But whereas what I should have done is that I should have built a slightly less functional MVP and gathered feedback on it. So I would say that if when you decide to productize your idea, make sure that there's demand for the product. I mean, for my product, there is demand because people read the news and they know what happens. And I've spoken to a lot of people who struggle with these issues. But for my industries, well, the demand might not be as obvious as it is with mine. So before creating a company and paying £150 to your accountant each month, you make sure that you actually have product or a demand for a product that people need.
So you need to first figure out the product market fit by either releasing your, fun feature MVP, which people can just use and give you feedback. And that way it's really good for you to build up.
Exactly. And Bubble and other tools are very good for that. Bubble is good for web apps, and Glide and Thunkable are good for mobile apps. So if with Glide, you don't have to pay an app store fee, so you won't be bankrupted by Apple.
Oh, is it? Which one is that? Sorry?
Glide. It's a tech agnostic mobile app, so you can just scan a QR code, and if you have an iPhone or an Android, it will get installed on your phone, and you don't have to pay developer fees.
Okay, got it. So they already have an app on the App Store. When you scan the QR code, that app opens, and then your app code installed in that app, and then you can view it, something like that.
It's not on an app store. You can just scan the QR code from anywhere and it will be already installed on your phone. But it's an Android app, a free phone, or whatever.
Okay.
So not tied to the app store.
Okay. So talking about the apps then, so Expedite is where it is available. Is it available on web or App Store or Android?
Yes, it's a web-based, tech-agnostic, browser-based app. It's not really feasible for mobile because people don't fill out customs declarations on mobile.
Yeah.
So it's web browser-based, tech-agnostic web app.
Perfect. Okay, great. So I guess we are heading to the end. So we should wrap up now. Okay.
Yep.
We're going into the lightning round now, and I've got 6 quick fire questions for you.
Sure.
Try to answer them as quickly as you can, and that would be great. You ready for that?
Absolutely.
Great. So let's start. So, what's one of the best pieces of business advice you have received?
Plan for the future. Make sure that you have enough money and enough time because it will cost more time and money than you expect.
Yeah. Wise. What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
I would say the mom test is it's quite old now, but it's a very good way of explaining your idea to your mom. That's what the premise. And if your mom does understand what you're doing, you probably don't have the best product.
Indeed. Perfect. What one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful founder?
Sure. Well, the founder is called Tanya Bullard. She's a femtech founder, and she spotted a problem which affects 52% of the population, which is women. And that interview with her about her experiences and how investors refuse to back her because women startups are a niche, inverted commas. So that definitely stuck with me, and how terrible that the approach is still towards female founders because they only get 5% of VC funding, even to this day. And what she's really inspiring because she managed to build a $1 million company without any backing from such investors.
Oh, nice. After we finish this 6 questions, I'm going to share something with you, but let's move on to the next one. What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
Okay, I would say HubSpot. HubSpot is a very good tool for scheduling your email marketing, and it's also a great custom client relations management tool. And I really like HubSpot.
Perfect. I use it myself too.
Yes,
Yeah. What's a new or crazy business idea you would love to pursue if you had the time?
Sure. Well, if I had the time and the resources, I would not I wouldn't call it a business idea. I would call it a social social enterprise. It would encourage. It would be in the early childhood education phase because it's so important. It really can shape a person. I would help more young girls from disadvantaged backgrounds get into tech careers. So I'm not sure what shape it would take and what technology I would use, but that's the initiative I would begin.
Last but not least, what's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know?
When I want to relax, I enjoy cross stitching Van Gogh pictures.
Ah, yeah. Is that your one of your passions outside the work, or?
Well, it's something I really enjoy doing. I really enjoy completing Starry Night. It took a lot, but the cross stitched version is beautiful.
Great stuff. So the moment when I paused in the middle of the questions and I mentioned that I'm going to mention something to you is I interviewed another founder from upgrading.
Oh yes, I spoke to you on LinkedIn after your podcast.
Yeah. So that was something similar on the women empowerment part. So I would definitely encourage you to connect with her.
I did.
And
Yes,
then
we have a meeting next week.
there you go. People helping each other. That's nice. Amazing.
Yes.
Awesome. Great. Well, Kate, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story and packing the last few years of building this business and some of the ups and downs.
Your
Great.
pleasure.
If you want, if people want to check out Exponite, how would they would do it?
They can find me on LinkedIn under Kate Suhanova, or they can go to expediteup.co.uk.
Okay. And if they want to connect with you on LinkedIn, what's your handle?
Yes, my handle is I think it is Kate Suhanova, one word.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, thanks. Kate, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspired journey and the impactful work you're doing.
Thank you so
It's
much.
been an absolute pleasure having you on our SaaS Stories podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Pleasure. Glad to be here.
Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of our SaaS Stories podcast. I hope you found our conversation with Kate insightful and inspiring. If you're a founder or industry expert interested in sharing your story on our SaaS podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out. Simply email me at ash@oddcircles.com and let's connect for a potential interview opportunity. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and stay updated on future interviews with proven founders and industry experts. We have a lineup of incredible guests and valuable insights coming your way. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep building.